Oh, it hits hard. It hits so hard. We are back at the dairy today, and our focus is centered around a small fenced area where some of the calves are kept. Now, normally calves would be kept in roofed sheds, but during the calving season there are just too many, so some of them have to endure the elements, and this makes them particularly vulnerable. Because of all the feeding that happens in the winter, there's a massive influx of rock pigeons, and this creates an undesirable situation for the farmer, not only because of how much the pigeons can eat, but also because of their droppings being a health risk. We're focusing on the calf enclosures today because their immune systems are not quite as developed as the fully grown cows, and they are more prone to diseases spread by these birds. So I set up and get going, completely oblivious to the absolute carnage that would ensue in the following 2 hours. You're going to want to watch this one to the end. Okay guys, so here's the situation. We've got hundreds of rock pigeons behind me on the dairy, in amongst the cattle, and we're going to try sort the problem out. There's a bit of wind blowing, which means that I'm going to be using this gun first, but at close range. This is the Dreamline Compact Tactical. It's a nice little compact folding stock gun, so for walking around, climbing over fences, you know, all that stuff we need to do here at close range, this is going to be perfect. Out to about 30, 40, 50 meters in this wind, this gun's going to be great. After that, I think I'm probably going to switch to something a bit more powerful for the longer range shots, but let's see how this little baby does. Looking forward to it. You can hear that the wind is blowing here, so I'm not expecting to spend too much time with the little Dreamline, but the birds are out, so I get into position and begin flinging lead. You'll see that I'm going for headshots here, which is not something I normally do. The flapping from the nerve responses after a headshot can be misinterpreted as suffering, so I tend to prefer vital shots to the body, but with the wind pushing the pellet between half a mil and a full mil to the left, and the birds moving about, I'm not quite confident in my ability to take humane vital shots with a 26 foot-pound gun, so most of these are headshots, with the odd lower neck shot if the opportunity presents itself. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but this pretty much sums up South African rock pigeons for you. I'm standing probably about less than 10 meters away from where those birds were, and as long as there are dead pigeons on the ground, the other pigeons become so brave because they believe that it's safe. They think that those dead pigeons are live pigeons, and they start to act like decoys. So I can basically sit here 10 meters away, 20 meters away with the Dreamline, which is what I need for a gun that's not that powerful. You know, in the wind like this, you need to be quite close, and I can rest on a pole, or I can rest on a tripod, and I can just take them out one by one. So for a pest control tool, it's fantastic. It's dead quiet, so the cows don't get bothered. You can see the cows are just curiously watching me behind me there. But how's that for a start, eh? Look at that. Just a whole lot of pigeons on the ground. Could not be happier. Take a few more shots, and it's not long before the bodies are starting to stack up, but it's about to get even better as the flocks start to come in, and it's at this point that I realize it's going to be a big day. Headshot. After a few shots up close, I move over to the birds a little further out, and you can see here I'm holding quite a bit lower, sort of testing the water to see whether this little gun is capable of humane shots at this distance. I'm going through these magazines like it's nothing, but thankfully I've got one or two spares. That helps a lot in just trying to, you know, get these numbers down. I'm glad I don't have to single load, that would suck. So if you hear a little bit closer, dead. Oh, this is just too easy. This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna get the impact out because these birds are a little bit too far for my liking. I'm having to hold 2 mil dots over and for the wind. With the impact, I can literally hold dead on with those slugs. No wind, no holdover, nothing, and it'll put them down quickly. So this gun's perfect for close range stuff, but I think I'm gonna switch guns, try something different. I mentioned in the previous pigeon hunt I filmed here that the rock pigeons nest in the mountains and make their way down to the farms to feed during the day, and so these dry mountainous parts of the country are like a little bit of heaven to them. If there's free food up for grabs only a short commute away, the birds will come. As we look at the scope cam Slo-Mo footage here, you'll see that the DreamTech Compact is capable of humanely putting these birds down with good shot placement, and it is pinpoint accurate at these closer ranges. I do realize, however, after some of these long shots that I'll need to switch to a more powerful setup soon. I think some of those pigeons are quite young, and I know that because when I look at them I can see the red around their eyes is not quite developed yet. Usually on the fully grown adult pigeons you got the red around the eyes. Also I can see the coloration on the bodies is not quite like dark and contrasty yet, so that's a sign that they're quite young. But young pigeons are dumb pigeons, so that's going to help us a lot. I know rock pigeons well, and they're not the smartest of creatures, so I think as long as we can get the gun spot on and you know, do well in this wind, I think we're going to do a good job. It's been a dream start to the day with probably 15 to 20 birds down, but I've got my work cut out for me still, and most of these birds are now landing between 50 and 75 meters away. With the wind also picking up quite a bit, I decided to switch to the big boy. Right guys, so we have switched setup over here. I've got those birds down there. Actually, let me range them quickly. 60 meters. So 60 meters away, that's probably kind of on the edge of where I'd want to hunt with the Dreamline in this wind. So we're going to switch to the Impact X, or Impact Mark II rather. This gun is shooting 73 foot-pounds. Okay, so 26 foot-pounds 22 caliber, 73 foot-pounds 22 caliber, big difference, and you're going to see it in the footage. You're going to see flat trajectories, you're going to see very little wind drift, and you're going to see some really hard hitting. Those birds are going to be turned inside out pretty much. So let's put the magazine in and let's see what we can do. It's actually some that I've landed closer here, so see if we can get those. I'm just going to hold dead on for those ones. As you can see, we're starting to shift up a gear now, and the good news with rock pigeons is that the more of them you get down, the more of them will come. We could be here a while. You can hear just how these slugs are hitting. These are 34 grain hollow point slugs at 980 feet per second. That's over 70 foot-pounds, so there's no need to bother with headshots. It's vital shots all day on these birds, and none of them get away. Let's take a moment to pause and just analyze some of the scope cam footage here, and you'll notice immediately just how powerful the setup is. These slugs weigh more than double the JSP Hades pellets I was using earlier, and also traveling over 100 feet per second faster. That's 26 foot-pounds versus 73 foot-pounds. It's a monumental difference. These birds aren't just being pierced by a projectile, they are being switched off by massive waves of hydraulic shock traveling through their vitals and shutting them down. And this is the way I want it. If I'm taking shots quickly, there are bound to be some that don't land exactly where I want them, and I want to know that the birds aren't going to suffer from my mistakes. If this isn't the most painless and efficient way to get rid of these problem birds, then I don't know what is. Alright, well, we take a break there because we've just shot out 28 shots and probably killed about, what, 26 pigeons or something like that. Ridiculous. And they're just still landing, so and they're coming in from everywhere. Just look at this. Look at this. Look at these things. Oh my word. Look at that. It's crazy. And they're coming back. They're coming back, alright. Top comes off the magazine, gets spun around. First 34 grain slug gets put in, and from there it's just a case of dropping them in one by one. Very, very easy. Those are about 28 meters away, 28 to 35, somewhere around there, so I might have to hold under a little bit and then give a little bit, hold a little bit to the right for the wind. Let's see what we can do. Scope cam is recording. I'm going to go for a bird on the right to start off with. I do take a few headshots here, but decide very quickly that it's not worth it. Firstly, it just takes longer to set up for the shot, and secondly, the replays will be too graphic for YouTube, so I eventually switch back to the good old off switch. Well, I went for a 2-in-1 there, aimed for the head of the first bird, and the slug would have gone through, the head expanded, and then smashed the second one in the chest. So I wouldn't have done that with a pellet. I just don't think it's got enough energy, but with 73 foot-pounds you can do stuff like that. I love the scope. It's an Athlon Aries ETR. I used it at the Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge. It dominated. It's an awesome scope, but for some reason the GoPro and my scope don't like each other, or at least the GoPro's lens is not set up for the scope. So I'm struggling, you know, basically I have to look through the screen of the GoPro to manually focus it every time. I can't focus it with my eye. So that's a bit of a mission, but I mean, these birds just keep landing, so let's keep at it. There's nothing more I can do. This is crazy. Oh, it hits hard. It hits so hard. It is ridiculously hard. It's way too easy. Oh, solid. And that's my second magazine finished. Okay, I'm gonna top up with air because I'm just about to go off the reg. Fill the magazine, actually fill 2 magazines so that I can keep shooting and head back. But it's been such a fantastic morning so far. Actually, kind of can't believe how dumb these birds are. I mean, they're just sitting right there and I'm able to just switch them off one by one. It's ridiculous. So here's my impact setup over here. I shot from the same position with the Dreamline earlier, and there's some of the damage so far. I mean, those birds are just lying around there and they're not moving. It's pretty insane. For those of you who don't know, the difference between slugs and pellets is that pellets are shaped in a way that causes a lot of drag. It helps them to stabilize, but it's really bad for long range shooting or shooting in the wind because the wind catches them or the oncoming air catches them and just, you know, you struggle. They lose velocity and they lose energy very quickly. Slugs, on the other hand, are shaped like bullets. I don't know if you'll see that properly, but it's like a little bullet with a hollow point. Ballistic coefficient is much higher. I think the BC on these is like 4 times as high, 3 times as high as a normal JSB pellet in 22 caliber. So it's a massive difference. They retain their energy really well. They're much heavier than pellets, so if you're shooting them fast, I'm shooting these 985 feet per second, 34 grain. It's a lot of energy, and of course with the hollow points there, they expand. So they can put down these birds much easier. You know, I've noticed even just shooting here, this is the first time I'm shooting pellets in a very long time, and those JSB Hades pellets, while they are a fantastic choice for pellets for hunting, they just don't have the same knockdown power that the slugs do. The slugs are just so much more forgiving. You know, I'm a little bit shaky here on this rest standing up, but I know that if I'm a little bit off and I hit that bird somewhere in the vitals, it's going to go down on the spot. It'll be down within a second. Whereas with the pellets, those things can walk around for a bit. You've got to put a second shot in them, and that's not humane. Even though this is pest control, you want to be humane as possible. I don't believe there's such a thing as a balance between being humane and getting down as many as possible. I think if you aren't able to be humane in your pest control, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place, or you should be using a different tool. I'm super happy with the way that both of these guns are behaving. I've got to be careful with the Dreamline to keep it close, but with the impact I can take it a bit further out, and it'll put them down on the spot. Alright, those birds at the back there, I think I ranged them earlier at 60 meters, so I'm going to dial to 55, because this gun I think is shooting a bit faster than what it was when I set this up. Scope cam's recording. Gonna get focused over here. Oh, solid. Absolutely solid. Oh, I can hear that from here, just smacking them out there at 60 meters. I think it's actually further than 60, to be honest. And we should remember as well, we're at altitude here. I'm going to check the weather station, the Kestrel now, just to actually check exactly what the density altitude is, but I know it's much higher than up the coast. So this turret tape is going to become pretty much useless after a certain range. I'm going to have to use the Kestrel instead to work out these longer shots. Oh! 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 Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. Oh, I mean, I'm just absolutely smashing them. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I don't think the wind is actually affecting these slugs at all, even at the distance, which is pretty crazy. Let's keep going, yeah? Oh, just over him. Oh, finished. Oh, dead on. Okay, well, I have a feeling that this video is going to basically end up being just one long pigeon massacre, and I don't necessarily want it to be that. You know, anyone can upload a video with a whole lot of scope cam footage of pigeons being smashed. I do want to feature some educational stuff as well, so in between you're going to hear some voiceover. I'm going to talk about these birds. I'm probably going to only put in the best shots, because 100 shots on a scope cam video is probably overkill. I'll probably keep the rest for like a random hunts video or something like that. But yeah, it's been a fantastic day so far. I'm gonna keep going. Like, there's no reason to stop. I'm here for a pest control job. Let's see if we can get 100. Let's do it. I know from experience that when it hits around 1 or 2 p.m, rock pigeons tend to go into siesta mode and like to flock together for a little break, and this is the best time to rack up the numbers. I may have got a lot done already, but they're still resting in a big flock at the back of the enclosure, so I'll just keep going. I know I've shown you this whole setup over here before in a previous video, but this is the Spartan setup. I've got a Spartan Sentinel tripod system down here, and basically the Sentinel has a magnet on top and allows you to put your gun on top, and allows it to move around quite firmly, so it's nice for taking standing shots like this. And then I've got the V1 on top here, which is the new like wide long range tactical bar pod from Spartan, which is really cool. Can slip out like this, made of carbon fiber, so it's super light, can change position quite easily, and is cant adjustable. You can lock down the cant. I can load and shoot, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm gonna hit record again, gonna get set up on those birds. I'm actually gonna dial into 30 times so you guys can get a slightly closer up view. Oh, another one bites the dust. And I can tell you now, they like that movement of a flapping bird. They're gonna come back, they're gonna land there. No question about it. At all. They're gonna keep landing. They are definitely gonna keep landing. I'm gonna try weave one between the trees there. Quite a few down there actually. It's a lot. And that's why you've got a spare magazine. You can just keep going, swap it out. And I can get 2 full magazines out of 1 airful with this 580cc bottle. That's something like 56 shots or something, which at 73 foot-pounds and 22 is awesome. Oh, that's 2 in 1 again. Oh, that one hit so hard. I could hear it hit him, and I just saw him just get flung over completely. That's what you want to see. I have not moved from the spot since I arrived at this farm, and I've probably got more than 100 pigeons down. I've been sitting right here. I've used the Dreamline, then as I went a bit further, switched to the Impact. I'm surprised they're not extinct. Weirdly enough, the stats say that their numbers have increased more than 120 times in the past 100 years. And that's because of farming, obviously. But the point is, you can't shoot them out, because no matter how quickly you shoot them out, they continue to breed. It's just crazy. Okay, well, they're back that side. I'm gonna scoot over here just a tiny bit. Hopefully you can still see me there. I'm gonna get focused on these bad boys down there. Yep, in focus. Oh. With the wind blowing as hard as it is, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to keep the gun from moving side to side. Obviously there is some tension here in the tripod that stops moving up and down, but the side to side movement is quite smooth, and if you've got a strong wind blowing, sometimes it's hard to keep it perfectly straight. So I've pulled quite a few off to the sides. Hasn't seemed to have affected the shots when there's no gusts. Oh, so solid. Oh. Oh, the ones that are facing their backs to me are the ones that are getting hit the hardest. I think that's the best position to hit a bird. The organs are around the back end of the bird, so if you hit a bird from the back, that slug or pellet doesn't have to get through the breastbone or the breast meat. It's going straight into organs, into spine, lungs, heart, crop, all of that, and it's getting smashed. Oh. Oh my word, that one got hit hard. Goodness me. And there's a few right really close over here. So let's focus in on those. Oh, there you go. Just switches them off. Okay, so here we go with the Slo-Mo. You can see in the mirage that the wind is pushing here, but it doesn't really affect the slug much, and bam. A bit low, but it does the job. You'll see that I do vary a little bit here with the shot placement. I do take the odd headshot every now and again, but the majority of them are right on the off switch. I really do believe that if you hit a pigeon between the shoulders where the neck meets the body, there's some sort of nerve bundle or something that overloads the brain and just switches it off. This is something that is seen on bigger animals sometimes when hunting with very high velocity rounds. The nerve signals can put the animal into a coma, and I'm not talking about a spine shot, that's something completely different. This is a shot that's missing the spine but hitting nerve tissue. The benefit of aiming high like this is that the breast meat remains intact. This is obviously very important because the breast is the only meaty part on a pigeon really.
Right, as you can see, I've actually switched now from the other impact which I was using, which is like a super pimped out impact, to something a little bit more standard. Now I say standard, there are a few aftermarket parts on here. I've got a Crafton lipped, I think it's a KLS1 or something like that, the rear part of the buttress with the little monopod at the back. I've got a Saber Tactical cheek riser, which just to give, help give it the cheek height I need for correctly, getting the right eye relief and height for the scope. And I've got a little Donny FL on here, but everything apart from that is stock standard in terms of internals. So it's a 600mm barrel, but the Impact Mark II, because of the larger plenum and all of that, is actually getting a lot more power than the Impact Mark I. So with this gun, which is stock standard, I'm getting about, I think it's 60 foot-pounds or 60 something foot-pounds. I'm shooting a 27 grain slug at like, I think it's 940 feet per second. With a 600mm barrel, that's extremely impressive. So let's get to work. The reason I want to shoot a bit with this gun is just to show you what a standard gun can do. My gun is not necessarily standard, my other gun, this one is. I want to show you that with a standard gun you can do the same thing as what you're doing with my hectic gun. So let's put the new battery in the GoPro, let's get it on this gun and hit record and do some shooting. Okay, a few more birds down there. We've got the Impact Mark II. It's gonna be tricky, you gotta shoot through those trees, but if any gun can do it, it's this one.
So here we go with the stock standard Impact Mark II. I'm using the exact same aim point here, and while it doesn't quite hit as hard, it's still more than enough power to be completely humane. These next few are a little bit further out, and you can see in this clear German glass how the mirage is pushing sideways. The wind is still blowing around 10 miles per hour, but it doesn't do much to these slugs at all. The wind picks up a bit and I have to hold a bit to the right, but I judge it correctly and put him down. And one last thing to do, the birds have to be collected, and funnily enough, this was by far the most walking I had to do the whole day. I'd go as far as saying that the retrieval was significantly more difficult than the actual hunting, which says a lot.
Well guys, the scene speaks for itself, I think. I don't need to say much about this other than the fact that it was the most awesome little pigeon hunting pest control experience I've ever had. Last time I came to the dairy I got a decent number of pigeons down. I think I got 40 pigeons in a really short space. Well, this time we've got a lot of dumb young pigeons around, so I waited for about an hour or so and I managed to get 112 birds, which is absolutely crazy. Yep, awesome day out. First proper hunt with a little Dream Tac compact. I think this is going to be a bestseller. By the time you see this video, it'll probably be on its way to dealers, so I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with this little gun. It's awesome. And then when the wind picked up, went a bit further out to about 70 meters and took the impacts. This one shooting 34 grain slugs at 985 feet per second, which is like 70 plus foot-pounds. Did an absolutely smashing job, no pun intended, on these pigeons. I'm sure you will have seen in the scope cam footage that it really put the hammer down, and you would have seen the comparison as well between high BC slugs and low BC pellets. Now the pellets are fantastic for close range stuff. You could see when I was just leaning off the post here with the Dreamline, I was able to get these pigeons down with the JSP Hades without using a lot of air, without having to lug around a heavy gun. There's many advantages to having something small like this, especially when you're climbing through fences. I took this gun with me when I was retrieving these pigeons, in case there were any that were still alive, I could put a shot through them, and it's not difficult to carry this thing around for long periods of time. So yeah, the combination of the two is fantastic. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing below, and if you haven't checked out Airgun 101 yet, I'll put a link down below. It's a hub for all the airgun related content from many different YouTubers, and I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing that. And there's a cow trying to eat my camera tripod. So I'm going to end it there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.